My story in medicine is an interesting one. When I started my studies, I was living in a tree house in a meditation center in a small pueblo on the lake here in Guatemala. But this was my home for 11 months. I would come at night, climb up the tree, and it was a fantastic tree house and a platform, and this is where I started my studies and where I spent a good deal of time. My friend's mother came from the UK. She's a physical therapist, and she was taking a short course on acupuncture. And she let me borrow a textbook and threw me a couple packages of needles. It was Macchioccia's early book, Giovanni Macchioccia's Fundamentals. And I would climb the tree, I would climb up the ladder on the tree, up to my little tree house, and I would study at night when the workday was over. And I spent a good number of months here working, building, studying. Very quickly I realized that it was a logical system, and that it was definitely based on a different logic than anything I had studied or heard about, but that there was science to it. There was some kind of logic that I was already aware of very early on. And it was such a revelation to me that there was this medical system that had really systematized a lot of things that seemed very commonsensical to me. When I was a child, when I would get gastritis, I would always rub this point here on the lateral part of my knee, and it would help my belly settle down. I don't know why I did it. I just always felt that that was a good place. And so I started to understand almost immediately that there was a real empirical system, a really empirical logic to the system. That was kind of my breakthrough, kind of introductory moment with acupuncture, and I spent several weeks just needling myself. As my studies progressed and as things went on, it was one moment after another of really realizing that the challenge was not whether it was or wasn't a legitimate system, but the challenge was, how do you understand the logic? And then for me, because I'm kind of wired this way, how would I teach this to somebody?
The best part about this training with Christian has been consistency, repetition, pattern discrimination, pulse, like how it all fits together, how the tongue matches the pulse, and how you see that show up in the body and with the signs and symptoms.
Nice.
It's off so much, and so having the repetition, he has it all neatly organized in the manual, and so everything matches.
How would I actually come forward and share with other people, oh, here's how you can understand this system because you've never been exposed to this kind of logic before.
The most important thing about the training is the level of professionalism that it gives you. So going through the clinical training, you fill in any gaps that you may have inadvertently gotten as you went through school. It really sets a standard. It backs up the fact that what we practice is peer reviewable. I also think that the communication piece is probably the gem.
My introduction to plant medicine was also here in my first year at the meditation center. My study of herbs and plants began at that time in earnest, and I really learned a lot from him there. I befriended the fella who worked at the medicinal herb garden there at the meditation center, and my study of plants also began as a sort of contrast and contradistinction to all the emphasis that in our culture on drugs and pharmaceutical kinds of solutions for illness.
Christian is here to see patients. There are long lines of people and they travel great distances. It helps our doctors to be able to offer an alternative, because often the patients don't like to take pills every day, and the hospital's happy that we can offer this.
Acupuncture has a big place in these kinds of settings. It's pretty clear after 4.5 years of doing this, that it's a tremendous addition to the hospital. It's a tremendous piece. When the doctors know that I'm coming, and when a medical director asks, I mean, they really go out of their way to make sure that I have everything that I need so that the people can come and get as much treatment as we can possibly provide in a short time. All of these things were opening out to me, and of course I found a mentor. In the year 2000 I found my teacher, and I went on to essentially what was a 10-year apprenticeship. And getting a chance to travel and see that what I do works in South America, it works in the Middle East, it works in Canada, in the US, and Mexico, and all of North America, that we could really add something to the mainstream. Well, that was my motivation from the beginning. And this concept of a barefoot doctor who could run around and sort of set up and be an auxiliary to treat chronic functional complaints, it is an idea whose time has come. It's something that, when you look at how many people are suffering from chronic functional kinds of problems,
there's just enormous opportunity at this time for holistic professionals who learn how to do this.
This was how it happened for me, and I'm now at a point where I can also have people here and have them share the experience of this, and I'm just delighted to do so. Be a pioneer. Make a difference in 21st century healthcare.